Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So today is the as promised part 2 of my how to read your birth chart 101 video. So this is 102, and we're going to go over the rising signs, the other aspects, and also how to connect these and what the aspects mean when you see all those lines in the middle of your birth chart, what exactly that means and how it's calculated. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. So for this video, I went ahead and drew out an example birth chart. So in this example, this person was born August 8th, 1988 at 8 a.m. in Atlanta, Georgia. Just for easy, an easy read. We got 8888 at 8 in Atlanta, Georgia, and this is what their birth chart would look like. So just quickly going over it, they are a sun sign in Leo, of course, because they were born in early August. They have their Mercury sign in Leo as well. They have their Moon and Venus in Cancer. Their Jupiter is in Gemini. Their Mars is in Aries. Their Neptune is in Capricorn. Their Uranus and Saturn is in Sagittarius. And their Pluto is in Scorpio. So that is how that would look. And something that I didn't go over in the last video that I should have touched on, but I forgot. So these will always line up. These first two sections here, so let's just quickly go over all three circles. The middle circle is for connecting the aspects. The second circle is for numbering the houses. And the houses will always be numbered like this, starting here with number 1, the first house being where your rising sign is going to lay, which we'll get to in a second. Always at that 9 o'clock line if you were looking at it like a clock. So going counterclockwise, you have the numbers of the houses. And then the third circle is for placing your planets, your planet symbols. And the fourth circle is for placing your signs. And everything here stays still, but this outside wheel turns. So these lines are not always going to match up. And that is something that I forgot to mention last time. This outer wheel is not always going to match up with the lines of the houses and planets. So that's why some of the lines are not matching up. So let's just go ahead and get started with your rising sign. So like I just mentioned, your rising sign is going to lay on the 9 o'clock line, which is going to be right at your first house. So this person is not only a sun sign in Leo, but they're also a ascendant or rising sign in Leo, because this first house line, 9 o'clock line, hits the Leo sign on the chart. So this person is kind of a double Leo in a sense. So they are a rising sign, also called an ascendant sign. They are a rising Leo. Now, what does that mean? Your rising sign, this being the ascendant line. So your rising sign in an astronomical sense is where the sun was rising on the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. So on the eastern horizon, it was also rising in Leo. So that's why you are a ascendant in Leo. And what that represents in astrology is your first impression. So your rising sign is your first impression. It is how you first come off to people that you do not know. So if you were to go to an event or a party, or just go hang out with people that you're meeting for the first time, it's kind of like that defense mechanism or that outer shell that you like to present yourself to people as before they actually really get to know who you truly are. It's the sign that you present yourself as, or the qualities of the sign that you present yourself as. And it also manifests itself in the way that you dress. You can see by judging someone's style and how they dress, you can kind of guess their rising sign. So this person is a sun sign and a rising sign in Leo. So they probably present themselves as who they really are because their sun sign represents their personality. So that's your ascendant. And now exactly opposite from that, at the 3 o'clock line, if you were looking at this like a clock, this would be your descendant. Okay, so your descendant is the exact opposite angle of that. Everything in astrology is angles math, geometry. That's really all it is. So we have the descendant line directly across from that, and your descendant line, and this person's descendant is in Aquarius. So the descendant is in Aquarius. And what your descendant represents is actually the people that are attracted to you. So your rising sign is how you try to attract others, and your descendant sign is who's attracted to you. So with their descendant sign being in an air sign, it's also an air sign, of Aquarius, air signs would be attracted to this person, just naturally gravitating towards this person. So you may have a lot of friends or former past lovers, or just people that you are that are gravitated towards you, be air signs or even the Aquarius sign itself. So that's your descendant. And now we're going to talk about the MC and the IC. And your MC is called medium coeli in Latin, which means midheaven. So your midheaven is going to be pointing north. The MC line is going to showcase where the sun is going to be at noon on the day of your birth. So in this person's chart, where the sun would be at noon is approximately right here. So I'm going to put MC right here, and that is going through the Taurus constellation. So this person's MC, or midheaven, is in Taurus. So your midheaven represents your career accomplishments or your lifetime achievements in your life. So this is where you would find, and also because it is kind of on the 10th cusp, the 10th house cusp, which is the Capricorn cusp, which is all about career. So that is where you would look if you are struggling in your career or looking to where you would find the most achievement. That would be in the qualities of the sign that lies on, and in this case that's a Taurus. So with them being a Taurus midheaven, you would look at areas like food. So maybe they would be good in the field of culinary or art. Maybe they would be a great artist. Taurus are also known for having really great voices, so maybe they should look into singing or some type of songwriting where they can add, you know, creativity to music as well. So you would look at the qualities of Taurus and then kind of see what careers would work best with those qualities. Now directly opposite of the MC is the IC. And I am going to have to apologize for this here. This midheaven line is supposed to be directly on the 10th cusp, not beside it. So this 10th line is kind of off center because this is off center, or appears to be, but it's always going to be directly on this 10th cusp. And it's right there, it falls into Taurus. Right, and directly below, along the 4th house, you have the IC, which is an abbreviation for another Latin word, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But because it is on the cusp of the 4th line, your IC represents your home life. So this represents your public life, your career life, and then directly below that, opposite of that, is your home life. So this would be how you would, how you express yourself in the home, since it's on the Cancer line, the home line, and that falls into Scorpio. So this person is an IC in Scorpio, meaning that at home, they probably like a very private home, not just inviting anybody and everybody to their house. They probably like to be very, very private at home, like a maybe not too many blinds open, too many windows open, kind of like a dark and kind of sensual space, not super bright and airy and open. So that's how that would manifest itself when that's in the Scorpio. That's in the Scorpio zodiac. So those are the different angles and aspects in astrology that aren't necessarily tied to planets. Your ascendant, your descendant, your MC, and your IC. Now I want to go ahead and touch on degrees. So like I said, everything is math, okay? Everything is math. When they said in school, what am I going to use math for? It's everywhere, trust me. So this is 360 degrees, right? This is 360 degrees because it's a perfect circle. So that means that 360 divided by 12 is 30 degrees. 12 zodiacs, 12 sections. That means that every single box, so to speak, has 30 degrees in it. Now this is important to know when we start talking about aspects. So I'm just going to kind of draw this like that. So let's just pretend that that is 29 little tick marks. Okay, and that's going to be in all of these boxes. Each sign and each house is separated by 30 degrees. So what does that mean? So for instance, this person's Jupiter is about 2 degrees into the sign of Gemini. So why does that matter? Now we're going to start connecting the aspects. And before we start connecting the aspects, I need you guys to understand the different aspects we're going to be looking at. And knowing that there's 30 degrees in each section will make sense in just a second. So the different aspects that we're going to talk about, the first one is called conjunction. Okay, so a conjunction is a side-by-side planet relationship. Conjunction is side-by-side planets. So right here, we have the Mercury and the Sun, conjunction. Moon and Venus, conjunction. Uranus and Saturn, conjunction. All right? So when it's in the same sign, or within the same house, in the same box, basically, conjunction. And in your chart, it'll look like this. 2 side by side. Just little tick lines, side by side. 2 side by side. Because those are conjunctions. What does that mean in astrology? Conjunction side by side planets, they work together. So their energies are very close and they're pulling on each other. So your moon, so this person's moon and Venus are working together simultaneously. Emotions, love language. That means they probably have an emotional love life. Very direct like that, okay? And then you have the Mercury and personality sign here, Sun and the Mercury. Then you have the communication and the personality planet here in a conjunction, working side by side together. So they probably express themselves best by communicating, and that's how they would showcase their personality, by talking. And then you have your Uranus and Saturn in a conjunction as well, working together. So your Saturn is your discipline and your Uranus is your how you like to change things. So this can be a conflicting conjunction. So there's conjunctions are to be looked at. It's not always black and white, because if you have two opposing or opposite qualities that are in conjunction, that could either mean that they have the best of both worlds or that they have the worst of both worlds. So the conjunctions are not always black or white, or whether they are good or bad. It could be conflicting or easy, but either way they work together. Okay, and the conjunction will look like this in your chart. Next, let's talk about sextile. Let me use another color for that. So next, let's talk about sextile. Now, sextile looks like is represented by this symbol in astrology. It is 6 points on that little star. And so what a sextile is, it represents planets that are separated by 60 degrees. Okay, 60 degree separation, which makes sense. Sextile, 6, sex, and then just think of it like that. It's 360 divided by 60 is 60. So representing basically 2 signs apart, because each one has 30 degrees in it. So we're going to go 2 signs apart. So it's going to be basically if the signs are 2 signs apart. Now if you want to look at this and go even deeper, when we go 2 signs apart, what do we notice? If I were to go from Leo, I'm going to draw out the elements. I want you guys to notice this. Leo, 2 signs apart. Gemini, 2 signs apart. Aries, 2 signs apart. Aquarius, 2 signs apart. Sagittarius, 2 signs apart. Libra. That's a terrible triangle. 2 signs apart. Libra. What do we got? Fire, air, fire, air, fire, air. What does that mean? Whenever you go 2 signs apart, whether I were to start here, 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 when you go 2 signs apart, you get complementary elements. And if you learned from the last video, the complementary elements are fire and air and water and earth. Okay? Right side up triangles, upside down triangles. Think of it like that. Or you think of it as wildfire and muddy water. Either way. Those are the complementary aspects. Those are the aspects that work well with each other. So a sextile, because a sextile is 2 separate, 60 degrees apart, 2 signs apart, which means it's going to naturally fall in a complementary element. That means that this is a very complementary aspect to have. So this is harmonious. I butchered that spelling. But this is harmonious, very harmonious, because they are complementary elements that will fall into each other. So this chart only has 1 sextile, and that is Pluto and Neptune. Those are 60 degrees apart. 2 degree separation, so it's either 58 degrees or 62 degrees, but still within that window of 60 degrees. So next we're going to talk about squares. Now square in astrology, you'll see this symbol here when you're looking at your birth chart, which is just a square. And that represents square, 4 sides on a square. So you're going to divide 360 by 4. Signs that are 90 degrees apart. They create right angles, and you do 4 right angles, you get a square. So that's how that works. A square is not a good aspect to have in your chart because it is conflicting, because it represents challenge. So a square is challenging. So very challenging aspect to have in your chart is squares. Now that is 4 signs apart, since it's the 360 divided by 4, which is 90 degrees. You can also look at it as 4 signs apart. So 1, 2, 3. So up here, 1, 2, 3, 4 signs away. It's Taurus, 90 degrees away. So 90 degrees away is Taurus, and that is an earth sign. So fire and earth, those are not complementary elements. So that would represent challenge in your chart when they are 90 degrees apart. In this chart, they have the sun squaring Pluto. Okay, Leo, 1, 2, 3. They have the sun squaring Pluto, right? And the moon squaring Mars. So we got the moon squaring Mars. It'll look like that. And also the Mars squaring Neptune. So this person in their chart, they have 3 squares. 3 challenging aspects. Now I didn't even mention how the harmonious aspect of the sextile in this chart is good. The Neptune and Pluto sextile, the planet of regeneration and transformation or transmutation of energy, with the planet of spirituality or the spiritual realm. This would symbolize that this person probably wants to globally advance peace in some way. and just bring peace to the world. That's how I would read that. The squares now. So we have the sun squaring Pluto. This person may encounter death more than the average person. May even be numb to it because they probably see it so much. And it also may make a stubborn person with those aspects being there. And then you have this other square here, the moon squaring Mars, which could mean emotional blow-ups, okay? Emotional blow-ups. Now this house, we gotta look at the houses too. This is the house of friends, the 11th house, the Aquarius house, and the house of Pluto, the 8th house. So maybe emotional flare-ups with your friends, emotional blow-ups, because Mars is a sign of aggression and take action, and then Moon is your emotions. So that's how you would look at that as a challenging aspect. And then last but not least, for the squares, you have their Mars squaring their Neptune. Take action, spirituality. They probably have unrealistic, or I take that back. They probably think in like a fantasy world, or they think that like the fantasy world is the real world too much, and they kind of lose sight of the real world. That's how I read that. Next, we have trines. So a very nice aspect, trine, triangle. It's represented by a triangle in astrology. 3 sides to that, so 360 divided by 3 is 120 degrees. So these are planets separated by 120 degrees, or 360 divided by 12. And this represents easygoing, just very easygoing. And let's look at that even deeper. When you go 120 degrees apart, divided by 3, let's see here. You got Cancer, which is a water sign. Is that upside down to you guys? Yeah, upside down water sign. And then you go 120 degrees apart. Over here, we got Pisces, also a water sign. 120 degrees apart. Right here, we got Scorpio. What did you just notice? When you go 120 degrees away, when you go 120 degrees apart, you get signs in the same element. So that makes this even more easygoing than a sextile. This is a very good aspect to have in your chart. A lot of trines means a lot of just easygoing, harmonious relationships between the planets and energies. So that's how that would look. So this person has quite a few trines in their chart. The first trine is the sun is a trine to the Mars. So we got the sun going right there, 120 degrees apart. Leo, Aries, fire, fire. We have the moon trine Pluto. Got this here. Going down to Pluto. Cancer, Scorpio, water, water. Next we have Mercury trine Saturn. Mercury trine Saturn. Leo, Sagittarius, fire, fire. And lastly, Mercury trine Uranus, because in this chart, this person's Mercury and Uranus, this person's Uranus and Saturn are very close to each other. So it would fall in that 120 degree kind of range. Just gonna put it like that. But these are 2 lines, these are 2 separate lines here. All right, so those are the trines. Now, again, this is a very easygoing aspect to have in your chart. This person's sun is trine with their Mars. Their personality is in harmony with their take action in their drive planet, meaning that they probably go after what they put their mind to. Like what they want, they go after without needing too much motivation or push. This person's Mercury is trined with both the Saturn and the Uranus. So with the Uranus being trined with a Mercury, with which is your communication, and your Uranus would be your change, they probably are good at communicating different revolutionary ideas to people. And then with it being trined with Saturn, they probably are very disciplined or even conservative with their speech or getting their point across. And their moon is trined with their Pluto. They probably are a very deep person. They probably like to kind of be in their head sometimes, and they also probably have a soft spot for like taboo topics or something like that, especially with it being in the Mercury house, the Gemini house, third house. They probably like to talk about taboo topics, and then it's also sitting nicely in its home sign of Pluto. So that's how I would read that. So the last aspect that we're going to talk about is opposition. So where am I going to put this? In one of the space. All right, opposition. And opposition is represented by a line going straight across in astrology, and that represents a sign that is 180 degrees apart because it's the exact opposite. It's going to be the exact opposite. Hence, opposition, exact opposite. So 360 divided by 2, we look on the opposite side, divided by 2, the other half is 180 degrees apart. And this is also a challenging aspect. All right, pretty challenging because they are opposites, all right? So even though when you look at the opposites in astrology, they fall in line with the whole complementary elements thing, but just because they're the opposite sign, it could be challenging. But also, to be honest, it doesn't always have to be challenging. It can just be the different side, you know, seeing the other side of things. So it doesn't always have to be a bad thing. So now let's look at this chart and see how many oppositions we have. There are quite a few in this chart. We have the moon opposing Saturn. Right? We also have the moon opposing Uranus. Those are right there next to each other. We have Venus opposing Saturn. And Venus opposing Uranus. Lots of pulling right here. And that's it for the opposition. Now, just quickly going over opposition and what that would mean, or how I would interpret that. The moon opposing your Saturn would mean that you probably have like an emotional disdain for authority. That's how I would read that. Let's talk about the Venus opposing your Uranus, the love planet and the planet of change. So because it's opposing, you probably don't fully embrace change in a loving way. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means that it probably takes a lot for you to change your situation and change your surrounding. You wouldn't embrace change completely fully because they are opposing right there. All right, so those are the aspects. The conjunction, the sextile, the square, the trine, and the opposition. Those are the main lines that you will see in your birth chart and how to read them and how to interpret them. One thing that I did forget to mention, we have the ascendant and descendant and the MC and the IC, but I totally forgot to mention north node and south node. So your north node and south node are, again, not planets. These are not planetary aspects along with these other angles there. But they are nodes that have to do with the relationship between the moon and the earth. So I will put a little graphic chart right here for you guys to understand better how you calculate the nodes in your birth chart. So basically, your north and your south nodes are the points where the moon's orbit and the plane of the ecliptic converge during the time you were born. That is the Google definition. It's kind of hard to explain, so that's why I hope the chart and that definition helps you. But basically, in astrology, what that means is your future life and your past life. So in astrology, we do believe in reincarnation. If you go deeper, we can talk about reincarnation by choice and all those things. We're not going to get into that today. But your north node would represent your future life. And if you follow the path of your north node, basically getting a jump start on your next life, you would live a life full of the least amount of resistance. You would be following the path of least resistance if you follow your north node. I will do a whole video on north nodes because I think north nodes are amazing, and there's also a really great book that I want to recommend to you guys. It's all about your north node and following the path of your north node. Me personally, I'm a north node in Sagittarius, and I'm also a Sagittarius stellium, so me following my north node comes easy to me, but sometimes you can have a north node in a sign that you don't see in any other aspect of your chart, and it could be totally unrelatable to you. So following that path could be a little bit more difficult. In this instance, this person's North Node is in the sign of Pisces, the 7th house. And the North Node symbol, it kind of looks like, I did that so wrong. It kind of looks like Leo, but it has 2 loops. This has 1 loop, this actually has 2 loops. Hope you guys can see that. Totally butchered that. I'm gonna put that a little bit bigger out here. So that's the symbol for your North Node. So like I said, this person's North Node is in the sign of Pisces. This person doesn't have any other Pisces placements. This person also does not have any other 7th house placements. So following the qualities and sign of a Pisces may be difficult to this person. But again, if they do that, they will be on the path of least resistance, in theory. So what this means is that they probably need to be more giving, more charitable, more compassionate, look into careers that have to do with giving back or helping others. Also look into the minds of people, the minds of others, like psychology or therapy or counseling, which can also add in that helping people aspect. And then also looking into psychic abilities, helping people by being a medium, an astrologer, the spiritual world, because Pisces also rules the spiritual world as well. So that's how you would look at that. Now their South Node is going to be directly opposite of that, and this person's South Node is in the sign of Virgo, which is this upside down, basically. So this person's South Node is in the sign of Virgo. Your South Node is your past life. So these are the qualities that no longer serve you. So don't neglect them, don't abandon them, don't shun them, but just don't embrace them. So this person here, they don't have any other planets or anything in the Virgo house, so they should be fine with kind of not embracing the qualities of a Virgo. They should be good. So this is part 2 of my birth chart series. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that it was easy to understand. I hope that I made sense. I hope that, you know, everything just kind of clicks once you have someone that can kind of explain it in a certain way. A lot of you guys have been saying that I explain it in a different way than you've seen before. So that makes me happy. I guess I'm doing something right here. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you have any friends or family that are interested in astrology and want to learn more, then feel free to send this video to them, post it on your social media, the whole shebang. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!